lot of people say with junior mining, what are you doing next? I say the next hole could be the elephant in the room, and we have that potential not only on Baldwin, on the north end of Shakespeare, but also at Lunge. My name's James Macintosh. I'm the president and CEO of Graycliff, and I've been in the business for over 37 years. I started out as a geologist in the field, worked as a mining analyst, and for the last 25 years I've been running public and private companies. We created the company in roughly August of 2019, took it public in August of 2020 with the Shakespeare property, and since then we've not only increased the size of the Shakespeare, but we've added Baldwin, and then we added the Lunge Project. So we now have 3 projects in the Sudbury Basin. Phase 4, we really tended to look at zones that we hadn't drilled already to extend the mineralized zone both along strike and at depth, and we achieved that. The results from phase 4 were quite good. About 25% of the holes had VG in the whole program, and in phase 4 we were consistent in those kind of numbers. So out of 16 holes with 4,500 meters of drilling, we had some quite spectacular numbers, including 5 grams over 5 meters and 14 grams over 3 meters. So big numbers. We've proven now that there's a lot of gold at Shakespeare around the area of the old Miller Shaft, and it's still open at depth and along strike. So we're quite encouraged by the work to date at Shakespeare. We have been doing most of our drilling in the area of the Miller Shaft, and we've got a fairly significant mineralized zone there now. And while we would like to continue to expand that zone, which is open in all directions, we realize that we need to look at some of the numerous targets we've identified on the property elsewhere. We have over 6 kilometers of strike to the northeast and southwest, and there is multiple targets that we found on that ground. And 2023, we'd like to begin drilling some of those. The geophysical anomalies that we found or were identified during the program last year definitely suggest the presence of potential nickel, copper, and PGM targets. And we definitely would like to reach out and on both properties really, and look for some of those targets. So we've got to do some ground geophysics, some field sampling, a little bit of mapping, and then we'll have a better idea of where to drill. But obviously with the high amount of interest in critical metals right now, and the fact that we're in the Sudbury Basin, less than 80-kilometer truck ride from Sudbury, we'd be silly not to really look at that and look at it in a lot of detail. And obviously, as you might have seen, we are adjacent to Magna Mining, and they've had a lot of success with nickel, copper, and PGM in their Shakespeare nickel mine. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of positive sentiment in the market right now for critical metals, and we're an area that has both gold and critical minerals, and it makes a lot of sense for us to keep exploring for that. The Lunge Project we picked up because it had similar geology. It's on trend with the current. If you've seen our press release, you'll notice it's 6 kilometers along trend to the northeast, and Magna flags us all the way across the north part of that trend. And it's got very interesting numbers. In addition to the nickel and copper, it's also got really good potential for gold, and that's very similar to both Shakespeare and Baldwin. So we're really encouraged by that. And the fact that there's a lot of untapped potential at Lunge, we think we can actually open that up and provide shareholders with a lot of upside. Well, there's multiple catalysts potentially. A lot of people say with junior mining, what are you doing next? I say the next hole could be the elephant in the room, and we have that potential not only on Baldwin, on the north end of Shakespeare, but also at Lunge. So we'll be working on all 3 properties this year. Obviously, we'd love to raise some critical minerals flow through because that would assist us greatly. And you know, there's significant upside potential through mapping, sampling, some initial drill holes to test the geology. You know, Graycliff is an interesting story because the market cap is fairly low for a number of reasons, not dissimilar to other junior mining companies, but there's huge upside. And so for current shareholders, there's the ability to potentially get stock at a price that it won't be at for very long, but it's an incredible entry point for new investors.